It's United State of News, and these are the headlines. President Trump so focused on the Iran war he will only play 9 holes this weekend. King Charles will visit Trump to show him what it takes to be a real king. It's centuries of incest. As World War III looms, the world faces up to a more pressing question. What's bimbofication? We're too scared to look it up. Good evening, it's the 2nd of April 2026, and this is a spoof news show that takes a satirical bite out of the far right. Stay tuned for an exclusive statement from the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves. But first, the Iran war is dragging on longer than a black and white film with subtitles. And while the White House has previously struggled to explain why they started the war, they are now struggling to explain how they'll end it. And it appears President Trump is up the Hormuz Strait without a paddle. However, one thing is for sure, the war is escalating, and the US and Israel find themselves trapped in never-ending circumstances, like that gerbil who was shoved up Richard Gere's bum. The Houthis, who Trump obliterated in the same way he obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities, have somehow survived, and have joined Iran to fight against Dumb and Dumber. The US has around 50,000 troops stationed in the Middle East, and Trump is considering sending them into Iran. In his often repeated line of no boots on the ground, he has now chosen not to hear the word no, which explains why so many women claim he sexually assaulted them. An Iranian spokesperson stated they are waiting for the US troops to arrive, and although they weren't specific on why they were waiting, it's unlikely to involve a warm handshake and 10-pin bowling. More people are going to die. People who don't deserve it. Can the war be rolled back through negotiations? Maybe, but during a recent cabinet meeting as Trump updated the press about Operation Epic Fury, he interrupted himself with a 9-minute long monologue about his favourite pen, and how he spoke to the manufacturer of the pen, and how the manufacturer was honoured to create a special pen just for Trump. A conversation the manufacturer has denied taking place. How can you trust peace talks with a man distracted by an imaginary conversation about a Sharpie? And maybe negotiations would work if it wasn't for the Secretary of Defence Pete Hegseth making speeches that state the US will use overwhelming action of violence against those who deserve no mercy. Pete is either all in for continuing this war or he's auditioning for the role of villain in Scooby-Doo. This war is best characterised by its lack of clarity, because Trump is the magic 8-ball president. Whenever he is shaken by a question, a new answer comes out. And like the magic 8-ball, Trump was only ever popular in the 80s. Now he faces a huge public backlash and dwindling military supplies. He won't decide to stop as much as he is stopped by his own incompetent nature, which he'll then stamp as a victory, and then it's on to Cuba. And now a quick word from me. As part of United State of News, we are about to launch Spotlight On, a limited series profiling 4 right-wingers benefiting from the rise of fascism. Some you'll know, some you'll have heard of, but all of them are worthy of your attention. Tune in to find out who wanted to start their business on a Native American reservation to avoid paying tax, who said accommodating school children with learning difficulties was insane, and who refused to send condolences to the parents of a dead student because they were black. Follow now to receive your new extra podcast episodes. And now we go live to our roving reporter Billy Beans, who thinks slap and tickle is a new kind of martial art. What have you got for us, Billy?
The new leader of the UK's Ofcom, the regulatory body that oversees impartiality in TV, radio, streamers, etc., will be faced with an immediate conundrum. What to do about GB News, the poor man's Fox News, which is already the poor man's Idiot News. The GB News channel is constantly criticised for spewing far-right nonsense and influencing voters. In November 2025, 65,000 people signed a petition following Bev Turner's interview with Donald Trump, where she broke the Ofcom broadcasting code for not correcting him on his climate-denying lies. Chief amongst them was that windmills killed all the birds. It's simply not true. A study found the biggest killer of birds is, not surprisingly, cats, and Bernard Matthews. The interview was a tongue bath where Bev couldn't have done more to ingratiate herself than if she had danced the dance of the 7 veils. She later said to Trump, it takes real courage to stand up to the UN and drop all those truth bombs. Little could she have known that only 4 months later, Trump would be dropping his truth bombs on Iranian children. Ofcom refused to investigate the interview. GB News is also criticised as being a mouthpiece for the far-right Reform Party. It regularly features their acolytes, rotating them through the studio like they're on a Yo Sushi conveyor belt. Presenters include Matt Goodwin, AI wrote his book badly, Lee Anderson, punched a protester, Darren Grimes, faced like a foot. Nigel Farage sent cameo greetings to Hugh Jass and IP Freely. Ofcom have lost or dropped any legal cases they had regarding Reform's hold over the channel. GB News is only partially to blame because haters gonna hate. It's what they do. And it's up to Ofcom to stop them. Currently, the organisation has no teeth, like your grandma, who has her food mashed through a sieve first. And like Granny, the content of GB News turns out to be mushy and slightly racist. The news channel skews right, like a shopping trolley with a dodgy wheel. And hopefully, the new leader will throw that trolley into the canal with all the others.
Good reporting. And now we go to number 11 Downing Street, where Rachel Reeves is making a prepared statement. You go, girl.
Hello, it's me, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, I think. Like a Turkish barber's on your local high street, you can always rely on me for some brutally drastic cuts. Things are really tough for me at the moment, particularly because of World War III. You try sticking to fiscal rules in a world led by Elon Musk and the Cookie Monster's orange gropey cousin. As of today, I have to say that things can only get better, but only after they've got a hell of a lot worse. I think people should feel sorry for me. I've taken on a 21 billion black hole, which then went to over 40 billion, and now I've lost count, ironically. Maybe because I lost my calculator. The last time I had it, I managed to write the word boobies in numbers, which just shows how hard I am working to get this country back on track after 14 years of Tory failure. All I do is readjust budgets because the first one didn't work. I decided to not publicise the spring budget because I knew people would have a problem with it. And thanks to Iran, I now have to readjust things again because of fuel prices and car people getting all angsty. This is taking precious time out of my day to do my actual job, which is to prop Keir Starmer up because he is bent so far up everyone's arses he can't stand up on his own. Finally, I will say this. I will not accept responsibility or blame, and I'm sick of people blaming other people for the state of play. Those to blame are Elon Musk, Donald Trump, the Tories, Iran, Katy Perry and puppies. They distract people from reality. And finally, I just want to say goodbye.
Thanks, Rach. Now we join Virginia Cluckbucket for an instalment of her series called Maga Mayhem.
The current partial shutdown is the longest on record, and it has exposed a crack in the Republican Party. And not just because House Leader Mike Johnson has bent over too far. The Democrats are refusing to fund ICE, leaving the GOP Senate and the GOP House to argue over how to fund the rest of the Department of Homeland Security. The Senate passed a bill to fund everything but ICE, meaning the TSA, those people who keep planes in the air, and the Coast Guard, those people who find your plane when it crashes at sea, will finally be paid. But the House rejected the deal, with Mike Johnson calling it a joke, which was surprising. No one thought Johnson knew what a joke was. Unusually, the Democrats are sticking to their demands and standing firm, which is no mean feat for Chuck Schumer, who at 75 years old could be blown over by a strong wind. It leaves Republican senators and representatives bickering like two rats over a Taco Bell, with neither side wanting to eat it. To prove how committed they are to passing the funding bill, they all went on holiday. Senator Lindsey Graham has already been spotted in Disney World carrying a princess wand, which seems unusually wholesome for a war hawk so keen on killing brown people he'd probably tear Iranians apart with his own false teeth. All I'm saying is Princess Jasmine better not look at him wrong. It's heartening to see the Republican Party crumbling, like Chuck Schumer's knees. And with Trump focusing on the Iran war and who he can blame next, there is no one to right the ship. With tensions high, the shutdown won't end anytime soon. And while the GOP Senate and House are two cheeks of the same arse, they still can't come together to end the stench of failure.
Thank you, Virginia. And that has been the United State of News. I've been Johnson Hood. Good luck. United State of News was written by Sean Baines and Noreen Skinner. Noreen is touring now and can be found at the Brighton Fringe Festival on the 8th of May at 6:45 and at the Beam Theatre in Hertford on the 15th of May at 7:45. She is also heading to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and all her details can be found at her Linktree site. United State of News was also performed by Gillian Baines and the esteemed Alex Morrison. Don't forget to follow United State of News down a dark alley for next week's episode.